Okay, so Suzanne Sheldon of the Dice Tower and Restoration Games, I think, has made it clear that she wants to be considered the queen of board game puns, as is evident by the game we're looking at today, Berried Treasure, which is about, like, berry fruits and not pirate buried treasure. Anyway, well, let's jump right in. Berried Treasure is a card game for 2 to 5 players with art by Heather Vaughn, designed by Noah Cohen, Rob Davio, Justin D. Jacobson, Brian Neff, and Sid Saxon, and is published by Restoration Games. Berried Treasure is a re-implementation of a Sid Saxon design game of the same name, but a different spelling. Over the course of 3 rounds, players pull from a tableau of decadent dessert cards. Each round is prepared the same way. The round scoring card is flipped and cards are laid out in 4 rows of overlapping desserts. On a player's turn, they simply choose one of the end cards on one of the rows. If there's a more action on it, they take another card on the end of a row as long as it's the same type. If it has 1, 2, or 3 paws on it, they use their grabby paws to steal from another player, as long as it's of the same dessert type and are taken from the same player. Any cards taken are added to a player's personal stash that they keep for the entire game, and play continues. Once all cards are gone from the center of the table, players count up each dessert type in their personal stash and earn points based on their rankings for that particular round. However, if any player ties for the amount of dessert type that they have, they earn no points for that specific category. After 3 rounds are played, the player with the most points wins. Now, a few observations. First and foremost, Berried Treasure is striving to be the type of game that I am always on the market for, which is a quick, clever card game, something that I can teach to anybody. I haven't been to very many large gatherings in the last couple years, and so a game that I can take to my in-laws' house or a small group of friends' house that maybe aren't interested in sort of a more immersive and engrossing type of game that can be taught quickly, that's interesting for me, interesting for everybody else. One of the things I love about Restoration Games is their core concept of taking old games and revamping them. And I'm a big fan of a number of their games. Berried Treasure is one I hadn't heard of. And I think I don't know the original rule set, but I'm instantly kind of tickled at the way that they revamped the title, going from Berried Treasure, which was originally a pirate-themed game, I believe, where you're, stealing treasure, to Berried Treasure, a pun about pies and desserts. And yeah, I don't know. It's something that immediately stuck out to me as something I enjoyed along with the art. So if I were to look at a few things that could be considered cons for this game, first and foremost is the box size. You get this in this size of box. And it isn't, as someone that enjoys these types of card games, if this is what I'm looking for, gameplay-wise, what I'm not looking for is a box this size, because I appreciate the portability of this game. I don't have to pack this along everywhere. If I'm taking it somewhere, I could easily put this in a deck box or something. But I understand that there may be retail reasons for why a publisher would choose a box this size. As a consumer and an avid consumer of this type of product, it's not something I'm looking for or even desire. It's a small problem to have. Now, the other con that is right on the border for me is it may be a little bit too simplistic for the long run. It's not now. I've really enjoyed playing it the amount of times that I have, and it's one that I can see bringing along for a long period of time. But even in the scope of some of the more simplistic games that I enjoy, card games that I enjoy, it is on the simpler end. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but it is something to be wary of, especially if I feel like there's a large group of people that really enjoy these simple card games. Some of them enjoy the ones that tend to have more rules, and those that enjoy ones that have even less. I think there's a sweet spot right in the middle, and I think this still rests in that sweet spot, but sort of on the less rules end. And that's just something to be aware of. But that simplicity, I think for me, is what makes it great and what makes me enjoy it so much, is the fact that I can set this up and teach it in about 30 seconds. It is the type of game that has that similar feel to another game called Llama that was really popular and still is really popular. But it has the simplicity of something like Uno or Skip-Bo. It's even an easier rule set than those games. So it has that accessibility there, but it has this bite of take that and this bite of strategy that you don't see from other games like Uno or Skip-Bo or other mass market card games. And that's what gives this sort of the little edge that makes me think, no, this isn't just another pick a card, play a card game. No, it has something that's unique in that you're all pulling from a center area and that you have to decide your moves very strategically, because pulling cards from the center reveals other cards that other players can then use against you. So it may not be beneficial to you directly to take a specific card, but in doing so, you're preventing someone else from getting it. The fact that ties are a bad thing also is great. It's one of those super small, incredibly easy rules to explain that I love seeing in a game, that while someone can completely grasp and understand the consequences of it, it drastically alters how you play the game. And so yeah, the rules are incredibly simplistic, and that may be a detriment in your mind, but it works incredibly well because it takes the right type of simplistic rules and puts them into the game. And it becomes the game that I am on the look for. And so Berried Treasure, for me, it fits that sweet spot of the type of game that I'm always on the market for. So in conclusion, Berried Treasure is the small, simple, sweet spot card game that Restoration Games and Eagle Gryphon Games intended it to be. And it is just as sweet as the theme would let on. And so you're left with a game that is as easy to teach as Uno, that looks a lot better, is a lot more fun, and is one that I think deserves a lot more attention than maybe it's potentially getting right now. So if that type of simple, quick, clever card game and card play works for you, check out Berried Treasure. It is a delicious delight. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, I'd like to see more reviews. Like and subscribe. I also do a number of different types of content, especially over on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. You can find me all at Plumpy Thimble. Thank you so much, and we will see you next time.